So that was recorded here? You wrote that here as well?
Most of the thing actually, just that I produced this Juveniles record, and when we finished it, there was a song that we didn't use for the record. It just had the vocals, the first part, really the basic vocals, like just a lead. And I was in the studio alone a few weeks after, and I just like played with some keyboards, and I just realized that it's the same tune, the same harmonics, and that can fit with the vocals. So I tried this. It works, and I just called JS, the singer of the band, and I said, okay, I start something, and also I'm starting the label, as you know, and I would love to try to make that collaboration happening. So he said, yeah, of course. So I just worked a bit alone on the record, and he came. He re-recorded some more vocals, some guitars, and we just finished that way.
So what were the main drums at 808 on there?
The main drums, it's just it's a mix of simple 909 drum, kick drum, and clap, with an addition of snap, real snap.
So that snap is providing the reverb?
Yeah, mainly. And there's also a clap somewhere. Yeah, like a real clap as well. So, like, I mean, from a very hard drum machine thing, it come more flexible, like more. Then we got some cowbells that we will record as well, and just a small tom from the 909 as well, playing with this cowbell, make it more strange as well. Again, some 909 hats and snare, and on top of it, I just have a real drum overhead, just for the snare and some tom rolls.
And you recorded that yourself?
Yeah, like this one. And with and then the old drum sounds more flexible, like not really 909, or the main thing are 909, but finally the groove, there's a shaker as well. I always put like a shaker. Here is really easy to listen, but most of the time, even if you don't hear it, I always put shaker or claps or a little something grooving somewhere in the mix, just to make it more grooving. Then we have another cowbell, more high. I mean, the first cowbell are plastic cowbells, those ones.
And you recorded those yourself here?
Yeah, it's just like we have a percussion bag, and those one are metal, proper like classic cowbell.
So you use those a lot to create a sense of space.
Yeah.
So you don't actually put a lot of reverb on the main core drum sounds.
No.
You put them more on the layered ones.
Yeah, like most of the time the drums, proper drum machine, are really dry, just making the impact, dynamics, and everything like really sound by itself, like even just the proper sustain or bit of reverb, but even the room sometimes, or not in this studio, but the studio I had before, we had a room with a really shitty acoustic, like strange short reverb and stuff, but it works very good for percussion. But so sometimes we record it in that room just to have the natural reverb, which is always quite interesting.
And because you layer a lot of things,
Yeah.
do you tend to EQ a lot to
Yeah.
make things fit?
Yeah. But I there's a lot of small tricks, like for example, this co has a really tiny slapback and a sample delay, making it more stereo, and a small reverb on send.
So that's just the sample delay plugin in Logic.
Yeah, I use it, but sometimes it works good because, for example, if you listen the same sound just through the computer speakers, the sound disappears. So it depends where you. So I try not to use too much this effect because sometimes it's just the sound. It makes the sound disappear or seems strangely mixed. But yeah, and like the kick drum is just, there's a little transient designer making it a bit more attack and less sustain, because it's always the problem with the analog drum machine, especially 909 and 808 are really fat in bass and bass release, and sometimes even with the compressor it's difficult to get the sound perfect. If on the top, if you like limit the drum group or the main mix, if you limit after that, it came up all the bass that disappeared when you can. So it's really that's the most important thing about the dynamics, is the sub sustain of the bass drum from those shitty, lovely drum machines.
So you tend to make a decision about which drum sound is going to have a tail,
Yeah.
and then make the rest really short.
Yeah, sure. And also to have the, like for example with the, like the real snare is just to make room, like to make it, but it has no real impact. It's really an overhead thing. So it's not problem with the real snare. Yeah, that's it.
And the samples you've layered are just from your collection that you've built up?
Actually, on this one, I played everything. I mean, there's just real 909 that we recorded, and everything was recorded on purpose. I mean, like I recorded the real drum just for this one, and the claps and everything. So because especially clap and snap, I record new one on every track, because it's never so good to reuse it on a different tempo, or it never works so good. I think like it has to be done with the groove and with the.
So you don't ever want to have a single clap sample you use?
No, I got some even. I mean, this is one of my tracks, so when it's my track, I try to re-record new things because I love to do that as well. I can say that when I do remixes, sometimes I take some parts I already use in terms of BPM or stuff. If I just start a remix at 118 BPM, for example, I try to remember which song I already wrote at this tempo. There's some things that is not a problem to stretch or stuff like that, but the claps doesn't work that much. I think it has to be the good tempo and the good groove. all the time.
Do you have those drums then going into a bus to be compressed together, or?
I got no rules about it. I think on this track, not really. No, this one all goes through the main masters. Sometimes, for when the track is based on real drum takes, most of the time I have also like everything is compressed separately and goes to a bus with another compression and EQ. But it's more for the proper organic drum. For when it's based on drum machine, I don't need really. But sometimes I just do it just to have a main volume of drum kit, but not to affect.
Mm.
I think like the second more important thing was the bass that I played with the Juno 60. That I just played with hands, no sequence, and I replaced some parts afterwards with the, I don't know, I think it depends sometimes, because I think I changed the tempo of the track during the process of writing. So sometimes the flex thing from Logic works, it's good, and sometimes not. And on this one, it wasn't, the sound of the bass was really strange, so I cut every little part of the bass that I need and just put it on the grid by myself. And
right.
no,
So like a
flex.
kind of like a Rex file, but you just move the transients back onto the grid.
But
Yeah.
just one and one, it's just one note to, like, all the bass part is just separate to notes. So it's a bit boring to do, but the sound was really shit with the flex. Like, for example, I flexed the chorus part because the bass little disappeared on the mix, so it's not a problem. But sometimes there's a little, which is no problem for the chorus, but at the beginning of the track the bass is just alone with the drum, so I needed it very clear. But it's the same that the drums, like for example on this track the Juno bass is the main one, but we recorded also a bass guitar doubling this, just to have some more organic sub bass, something living, and some cuts, like for the launch of the chorus, for example, we just have that note. It's also a question of groove, and so altogether you don't really listen the guitar bass, sorry, but it's here. I mean, there's just slides and stuff like that.
So with the 909 kick, the Juno bass, and the electric bass, was it difficult to get the low end to fit together? Did you decide?
It has to be improved. Like the bass is really is cut at like 52 here, and compressed all together with a stereo, as I do all the time. Like there's two bass, one on left, one take on left, one take on right. Then in the bass EQ'd and really compressed.
Just using the Logic compressor.
Yeah, but it's kind of hardly compressed by the way. Like it's without. Here it's without. And with like more just the attack. And the Juno bass has not much process, a little bit less low end. But all the Juno and 909 are recorded through the Trident desk. So I do some EQs most of the time at the take. Like for the Juno or this kind of bassy sound, basic, most of the time I put a little bit of medium around, I don't know, 3,500. I push like 3-4 dBs, making it not sub-bassy, but more bass medium impact, and a little bit less of low end. That's what I do usually. And a little bit the same with the drums from the kick drums from 909 and 808. I do quite the same. Then it makes it more easy to hear from any speakers and not too, because that's really enough.
Was the bass guitar recorded just directly into the desk as well?
Yeah. It's very cool actually. For the bass, you can have a slight distortion. Most of the time I cut a lot the low end on the bass takes, and it still has a lot, but and push some medium as well. It's just the way I do. Yeah, and then when we get this basic drum and bass part. And I during the track I switch a little bit the balance between the real and the fake bass. I mean in the what's the name? You have the chorus and the other part.
The middle eight, the verse.
Verse.
Yeah.
On the verse, I mean the Juno 60 is really on top, and the bass is just a little slightly here. And on the chorus, it's changing. Like the bass is a little more on top.
Was
and the Juno
was
is
that
coming.
for mix reasons, or was that to do with songwriting?
Yeah, it's because there's a lot of. It's both actually, but it's because there's a lot of keyboards on the chorus, and then the attack of the Juno 60, where there was a bit too much of medium high frequencies, making it a bit messy, and so I prefer to use the bass, which has not much high frequency, and a little more of funky in a way. Yeah, and then I focused mainly on the vocal part, so we get the lead.
Would you shut me up? Oh, I don't know the truth.
So it's the vocal from GS, from Juvenile. I just recorded a double octave vocals myself, which is kind of horrible to hear by itself, but
Don't know the truth, and I don't wanna know.
and yeah, that's another trick. I always do that, even if you don't really hear it, but I like it, make it spacey in a way. I don't know exactly how to say
And
that.
you cut quite a lot out of that high vocal
Yeah.
DQ, yeah.
I pray my words, would you fall apart?
It's more than I could do that with just the octaver on the main vocal, but it's more real that way. But in the mix, for example, you don't really hear the second vocal. It's more for the air. And then we have a lot of other backing vocals. I record some of my friend.
We are one life away from the truth.
We have love. I don't know. I got 10 people singing on this chorus. I do it all the time as well. But
We
have the lead. We have my shitty octave.
are one life away.
We've got Amandine singing.
We are
First vocal.
We are one life
second
away.
way, and always 2 takes of each thing, and we got some other guy singing here. Yeah.
So you allow the main vocal to be quite untreated in terms of EQ,
Yeah.
and the rest are all quite cut and they're separated.
and find his place,
Yeah.
stereo-wise, also left or right, and
So you always double track left and right as well with vocals.
yeah, always. But sometimes I just, like, I think on this one the lead is recorded 2 times, but stayed 0, both in the middle, make it like natural chorus on the lead vocal. It depends. Like for the lead vocal, now I used to do that way, like putting the 2 vocals at the middle, and then all the backing are making the stereo image. That's the way. And I think I got Actually, I really love the vocal harmonics, so I always record a lot of vocals. Sometimes I threw some. I mean, I put some in the trash, but I love to record more than I need, like making all the harmonics, even if I remove some at the end, but trying to go to the end of the harmonic process of every harmonic you can have on this one chord and on the second one, and record all the vocals, and then trying to...
In the dark, I will play your game. If you hold on to the stars, I'll wait. But if you jump
Like for example, this one.
onto the stars, I'll wait.
This one is a little out of tune,
Onto the stars, I'll wait.
but it works.
But if you jump right in the dark, I will play your game. I will play your game. Oh, I don't know the...
Yeah, whatever. I love vocal harmonics.
So when you've got that amount of vocals happening and the pads, I mean, that's the verse part.
Yeah.
So
second verse.
there's less pads in that.
Yeah, there's nearly enough. I don't remember exactly, but there's just like a... There's just the piano, bass, and some... I just have a part of the Odyssey, which is a side compress with the bass drum. And yeah, that's it. It's nearly... Yeah. I also have this. This is from the Trident Korg, and it's just saying like small pads coming in. But it's more for the building up of the sequence, because you don't... It's really down in the mix, actually. It's just growing, and at the end... You just can slightly hear it at the end, but you never probably listen to it. It's not on the top.
I mean, there's quite a lot of reverb on each individual vocal part. Do you EQ the vocal so that the reverb has a particular tone, so that they don't interact with each other?
Yes,
too
yes,
much?
most of the time. But it's I use the reverb by layers. I mean, by group. I got the lead vocals have a reverb send, which is different of the backing, which is more sustained and less bass frequency.
So pretty much the same way that you treat drums, in the sense that the main part is quite solid and dry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And the layers have a lot more reverb and a lot less bass.
Yeah, and I mean this track is slow. I mean it's 107 BPM. So at this tempo, you can open the mix with a lot of reverb and delay. Like it's really different on higher tempo. I mean, more you get high on tempo if you want to keep this kind of dynamic way of mixing the music. You have to get down the reverbs, and it's just a mess. That's why I love more and more do slow beat track. It's much more interesting for the technical part as well.
And what are the main reverb plugins you use? Is it just Logic's plugins?
It depends. I use the basic shitty platinum reverb, which is kind of shitty, but I love it. There's also the Space Designer one that I don't like too much, but for big, long choir reverb, it's quite good actually. But it needs to be really EQ'd because it sounds a little strange. And most of the time, I don't know if I have some. I use a lot that reverb from UAD. It's not for the vocals, but for the percussion, especially. It's just it's really close to the original one, actually, and it really doesn't work at all on vocals and on keyboards and stuff. But for percussion, for drums, it's really it's the best I think you can find, in my opinion. We also have small guitar takes. Once again, we got a real take. So, like all delay reverb is coming from the take. I mean, from the amp and the pedals. And I have a sampler. Virtual sampler that I use a lot of time, which is just one note of guitar sampled with a lot of effect. And I always with the chorus and amp thing, and the same that the bass and the vocals, I like to have this fake sound of guitar, but which is really solid and in the middle of the mix, and having real guitars on left and right, more like flexible, real play.
So the fake one is on the grid,
Yeah.
very timing-wise, very
Exactly.
locked down
Yeah.
as well.
And so, yeah, that's it. We have another one here, I think. Yeah, that's pretty much what I can say.
And the master channel is completely clean on this.
No, the master channel is full of, no, it's not full, but I always put EQ. I always search the top end.
So why
Between 40 and 50 most of the time.
do you have a dip across the whole, almost the whole spectrum? I mean, why have you decided to cut it by that much?
Oh, it's just because I put, I don't know the word for that, but like I enhance the low cut, so then the volume is getting over 0.
So
I
you
have
don't like to use
put it
the
down.
Logic EQ to boost anything.
But just the top ends actually, but because if you see the EQs in the track, most of the time it's subtractive. I just like it less this, less that. Yeah, it's always the same. I never put more. I just but yeah, on the master, I just try to find the good low end to enhance, about the bass and drum compared to the track. I put.
Do you do that from a scientific point of view, in the sense that do you find a frequency that's the key of the track, or do you
Yeah, no, it's just with the
just use your ears?
Yeah. And yeah, most of the time it's between 42 to 49, which sound stupid because it's nearly the same, but it's definitely not the same compared to the different drums. Like with the real drum takes, most of the time I found it more low, really at the top end. And with the drum machine, it's good to enhance around 50, 48, 50.
Yeah.
I feel myself like a crazy dude when I say that, but I do it. Then I'll use a limiter. That I try to keep on a reasonable reduction, like between 6 and 8, 10 maximum, but not much.
Do you mix into that? That's
Huh?
on. Is that limiter on from the start of the mix?
Nearly, yes. I always do everything at the same time, not at the time. I just like mix and write the tracks. I change during the process, but and so on this one, I gave a lot of attack on the bass drum with the transient designer. So on the master, I'm getting a little slow on attack and slow on release as well, making it less. I try to recut everything around the mix, and then I use the PSP at the very end, just for the not so much compression. It's nearly nothing, no drive, but just high frequencies. I try to find a good high frequency to enhance on the master.
Again,
Because-
just using your ears, just finding.
Huh?
Just using your ears. to
Yeah,
find
yeah,
it.
sure. And it can be really different from mix to mix. It can be from 4,000 to 16,000. It really depends. Sometimes it's less top ends. Yeah, on this one, the hi-hats and main snare are from the 909, which is not so high in frequency. I mean, so it's good to enhance the high top, but it's not the rule.